हरे कृष्णा।
हरे कृष्ण एवरीवन।
हरे कृष्ण माता जी, प्रणाम माता जी।
हरे कृष्ण
दंडवत प्रणाम। हरे कृष्ण।
प्रणाम
जी प्रणाम माता जी।
दंडवत प्रणाम। हरे
हरे
कृष्ण।
कृष्ण माता जी, दंडवत प्रणाम।
हरे कृष्ण माता जी।
हरे कृष्ण।
हरे कृष्ण माता जी, प्रणाम माता जी।
दंडवत प्रणाम। स्टार्ट। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयाउदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमा श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th Canto, Chapter 16, verse number 6. Whoever wants to read the verse can please raise your hands. यथा वस्तूनि पन्यानि हेमाग्नि ततस्ततः पर्यतन्ति नरेश एवं जीवो योनिषु कर्तृषु। मधुमय कृष्णकांत माता जी।
हरे कृष्ण माता जी, प्रणाम माता जी।
सर्वत्र
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। यथा वस्तूनि पुण्यानि हेमादीनि ततस्ततः पर्यटन्ति नरेष्वेवं जीवो योनिषु कर्तृषु। थैंक यू माता जी। हरे कृष्ण।
थैंक यू। चित्रमोहिनी माता जी। हरे कृष्णा।
हरे कृष्ण माता जी, प्रणाम माता जी।
धन्यवाद।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। यथा वस्तूनि पण्यानि हेमादीनि ततः पर्यटन्ति नरेष्वेवं जीवो योनिषु कर्तृषु। हरे कृष्ण माता जी। थैंक यू माता जी।
थैंक यू। प्राणनंदिनी माधवी माता जी। हरे कृष्णा।
हरे कृष्ण माता जी, प्रणाम माता जी। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। यथा वस्तूनि पन्यानि हेमादीनि ततस्ततः पर्यटन्ति नरसेवं जीवयोनिषु कर्तृषु। हरे कृष्ण माता जी। थैंक यू माता जी।
थैंक यू। उमा कुलकर्णी माता जी। हरे कृष्णा।
हरे कृष्ण माता जी। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। यथा वस्तूनि पण्यानि हेमादीनि ततस्ततः पर्यतन्ति नरेष्वा एवं जीवो योनिषु कर्तृषु। हरे कृष्ण माता जी।
थैंक यू। मधुमती विलासनी माता जी। हरे कृष्णा।
हरे कृष्ण माता जी, दंडवत प्रणाम माता जी।
धन्यवाद।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। यथा वस्तूनि पण्यानि हेमादिनि ततस्ततः पर्यटन्ति नरेष्वेवं जीवो योनिषु कर्तृषु। थैंक यू माता जी। हरे कृष्ण।
Thank you. Shubha Rao Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्णा माता जी, दंडवत प्रणाम।
Dandavat.
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। यथा वस्तूनि पण्यानि हेमादीनि ततस्ततः पर्यटन्ति नरेष्वेवं जीवो योनिषु कर्तृषु।
Thank you. Vijay Kumari Mataji, Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्ण माताजी प्रणव पदाजी ॐ नमो
Dandavat.
भगवते वासुदेवाय यदा वस्तूनि पण्यानि हेमादीनि ततस्तद पर्यटन्ति नरेष्वेवं जीवो योनिषु कर्तृषु थैंक यू माताजी
Hare Krishna. Brevti Ratnangi Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, pranams Mataji. Are you feeling better, Mataji? Feeling very tired, very weak you are feeling. Please take care of her health, Mataji, please.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm better. Thank you. I
Hare
was just
Krishna
tired from the
Mataji.
travel.
Yeah. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yata vastuni panyani hemadini tatsatah paryantanti nareshvevam jivo yonishu kartushu. Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Prem Prakash Haridas Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्ण माताजी का प्रणाम माताजी।
Dandavat.
यथा वस्तूनि पन्यानि हेमादीनि ततस्तः पर्यटन्ति नरेष्वैव जीवो योनिषु कर्तुषु। थैंक यू माताजी। हरे कृष्ण।
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Yatha, just as, Vastuni, commodities, Panyani, meant for trading, Hema Adini, such as gold, Tatha, from here to there, Paryatanti, move about, Nareshu, among men, Evam, in this way, Jivaha, the living entity, Yonishu, in different species of life, Katrishu, in different material fathers. Translation by Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada Ki Jai. Just as gold and other Hare Krishna commodities are continually transferred from one place to another in due course of purchase and sale, so the living entity, as a result of his fruitive activities, wanders throughout the entire universe, being injected into various bodies in different species of life by one kind of father after another. Purport by Shabad Ki Jai. It has already been explained that Chitraketu's son was his enemy in a past life and had now appeared as his son just to give him more severe pain. Indeed, the untimely death of the son caused severe lamentation for the father. One may put forward the argument, if the king's son was his enemy, how could the king have so much affection for him? In answer, the example is given that when someone's wealth falls into the hands of his enemy, the money becomes the enemy's friend. Then the enemy can use it for his own purposes. Indeed, he can even use it to harm its previous owner. Therefore, the money belongs neither to one party nor to the other. The money is always money, but in different situations, it can be used as an enemy or a friend. As explained in Bhagavad Gita, it is not by any father or mother that the living entity is given his birth. The living entity is a completely separate identity from the so-called father and mother. By the laws of nature, the living entity is forced to enter the semen of a father and be injected into the womb of the mother. He is not in control of selecting what kind of father he will accept. Prakrite kriyamanani. The laws of nature force him to go to different fathers and mothers, just like a consumer commodity that is purchased and sold. Therefore, the so-called relationship of father and son is an arrangement of Prakriti or nature. It has no meaning and therefore it is called illusion. The same living entity sometimes takes shelter of an animal father and mother and sometimes a human father and mother. Sometimes he accepts a father and mother among the birds and sometimes he accepts a demigod father and mother. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore says, Brahman Brahmite Kono Bhagyavan Jeev, Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Beej. Harassed life after life by the laws of nature, the living entity wanders throughout the entire universe in different planets and different species of life. Somehow or other, if he is fortunate enough, he comes in touch with a devotee who reforms his entire life. Then the living entity goes home back to Godhead. Therefore, it is said, जन्मे जन्मे सबे पिता माता पाए, Krishna Guru nahi mile, bhaj hari आए. In the transmigration of the soul through different bodies, everyone in every form of life, be it human, animal, tree, or demigod, gets a father and mother. This is not very difficult. The difficulty is to obtain a bona fide spiritual master in Krishna. Therefore, the duty of a human being is to capture the opportunity to come in touch with Krishna's representative, the bona fide spiritual master. Under the guidance of the spiritual master, the spiritual father, one can return home back to Godhead. Om Agyan Gyan Anjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manovishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamahiyam Dadati Sapadatikam. हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमस्ते तप्त कांचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुस्ते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसादि गौर भक्तवृंदा. हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. नमाम विष्णुपदाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी इति नाम्ने. नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे. Just as gold and other commodities are continually transferred from one place to another in due course of purchase and sale, so the living entity, as a result of his fruitive activities, wanders throughout the entire universe, being injected into various bodies in various species of life by one kind of father after another. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam 6th canto called Prescribed Duties for the Mankind, chapter 16 called as Chitraketu meets the
Supreme Lord.
Supreme Lord.
Very nice. Who is speaking this verse to who? Who is speaking this verse to who?
Jiva Uvacha. It's telling to Chitraketu.
So who brought the Jiva back?
Narada Muni.
Very nice. Why is the soul or the is speaking this? What is the reason? What's the background? Why is the soul speaking all
Soul
this?
is in the knowledge platform, which is given by mercy of Narada Muni.
Okay, but why Narada Muni gave him the knowledge to speak?
Chitraketu is lamenting that to give knowledge to Chitraketu, he brings back the Jiva and he is speaking now. Mataji.
Yeah, thank you. So the thing is that Narad Muni has brought the soul back to the body of the baby, the boy, and is asking it to retrieve its position as a son of a wealthy king, because the death was untimely and there's a balance remaining. So don't give lamentation to the grieving relatives. And the jiva looks around as if who is Narad Muni talking about, right? Because it is speaking from the platform of Chit, complete knowledge. There's no duality. Right? Remember, we read that the relationships in the material world are in the duality of material modes of nature. So this is easy for me to speak. I'm not a realized soul, but at least, Prabhupada say that we must read Srimad Bhagavatam every day. I was hearing Prabhupada today and he was glorifying that how important it is to read Srimad Bhagavatam every day, because by reading Srimad Bhagavatam every day, our bhaya, shoka, divarjita, we actually get rid of the fear and the grief or the lamentation that this material world causes to a conditioned soul. Just by, so at least, let's try to understand that what's happening here, even though we don't have any realization. And we can pray to Prabhupada, we can pray to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to our spiritual master to give us the realization, because it's a very high level knowledge. Okay, so the soul is speaking from the vision of realization. That which father and mother are you exactly talking about? Because I have been transmigrating from one body to another, and every life I have had a father and a mother, so I don't recall which life was these people acting as my father and mother. And then yesterday you must have studied that how the perception or cognition or thinking could have been changed if Chitraketu was spiritually elevated. That if my son died untimely and is inflicting pain in me, it means that this was an enemy in the last birth. So somehow or other, the enemy is causing. Now, the continuation of that verse is here, that how come if Chitraketu's son was his enemy in the past life, how come it is causing more severe pain and appeared his son just to cause more severe pain? How come enemy appeared as the son is the question here. And the son was able to cause the severe pain, because the death of an enemy usually does not cause pain. Right, so that's what the example given here is, the commodity like gold being purchased and sold from one hand to another hand to another hand. And in due course of time, it doesn't really belong to any one person, but it remains, gold remains gold. You know, my spiritual master was talking about this Kohinoor. Is it Kohinoor, the one that was stolen from India and put in Britain? Britain? Yeah.
Yeah, it's going. Yeah,
But
Kohinoor.
currently, is it in London currently? Because I heard it's in Washington, D.C.
It's in London right now, but it's going to be loaned to India for 6 weeks to exhibit in the museum. That's
Okay,
next
but I
month.
know what Gurmaj was talking about. Something is in Washington, D.C. So anyway, my Gurmaj was talking about it few months ago, that that diamond is cursed. Wherever it'll go, it'll bring about downfall. So it went to Britain and it lost all its power all over the world. You know how it is. We're not here to sit and discuss all that, but what I'm trying to say is this one commodity being transferred from one hand to another hand to another hand, but who does it really belong to is the question. So gold is gold. It doesn't belong to anyone. Money is money. It doesn't belong to anyone. When it falls in my hand, it feels like it's mine, but then it quickly goes away to someone else's hand. So like that, my grandma was talking the example of this diamond, and then he said that it's been cursed by a sage in India because it was supposed to be used to worship Krishna, a particular deity. My Gurumaj was talking, but it was stolen to be, given to this mundane titles of the conditioned soul. So the curse was placed. And whichever part of the world it will go, unless then it is used to serve Krishna, it will only bring forth calamities and downfall. And the first example is that Guru was talking about this, how British had its influence practically all over the world. Entire world was its colony, right? But then everywhere it had to withdraw. And the condition of Britain is also not the greatest right now. So the question is that you tell me now, how do you understand that if Chitraketu's son was to be understood to be his enemy, then how come he appeared as his son just to cause him pain if he was an enemy? Okay, how can the king have so much affection for him? This was the question. So, yes, Prem Prakash Adas Prabhu, I knew only you can answer. Yes, go ahead, please.
Hare Krishna Mataji. I think the example given itself is so nice. If I have and that money I lose, and if the same money goes to my enemy, which obviously would, that's how I lose them. Then the same money would be used for my detrimental purpose, for my downfall. So money which actually I had, which I could have used for anything that I wanted, is now actually used to have my downfall. So is the son that you are always looking forward to, is a son from enemy, then he is certainly going to take you down. Does
Okay.
that make some sense, Mataji?
Yeah, yes. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. It says, okay, enemy appearing in the disguise of a son just so that it can inflict more pain. Right. So what is happening here is that Prabhupada is trying to explain that, understand that how these relationships, is it in this chapter? Where was I reading? Maybe it will come later in this chapter where it says that every relationship which is made in duality is a cause of misery and lamentation. I kept reading over and over again because Prabhupada is writing every relationship which is made in the duality is a cause of misery and lamentation. So, like that, the reason is not to become disgusted, or the reason, it's not that okay, then all these relationships around me are false and I don't need to pay attention to anything and I am going to stay alone in Vrindavan and chant Hare Krishna. No, that's not the reason. Okay, the real deal is we are not impersonalist. We're not impersonalist. We are personalist. So the real deal is that if I have been placed in a certain situation by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there's got to be a reason. Yes, the external reason is my fruitive activity. Right, that's what it says, that as a result of his fruitive activities, wanders throughout the entire universe, being injected into various bodies in different species of life by one kind of father or after another. That is an external reason for in a life of a devotee. The external reason is the fruitive activity. But there is a spiritual reason or an internal reason that this position is best suited for my growth in Krishna consciousness. That is how a devotee thinks. Okay, we do not find any devotee. Can you think of any devotee who is sent person Krishna conscious is trying to make any changes in their material conditioning? Any devotee who's trying to make a change that, oh, I wish I was not born in this family, I wish I had a different profession, I wish I was not a man or a woman or a child, any devotee which comes to your mind who is actually seriously Krishna conscious from the example of the scriptures is trying to make any changes or asking Krishna to make any changes uh, in their living condition externally. Anyone? Pandavas,
No,
Draupadi,
no,
Prahlad
no,
Maharaj,
No,
Ambrish
no,
Maharaj,
no, no,
no.
Bhishma Dev,
no,
No. The accept thing, everything
or,
God did.
or Gajendra,
no.
any devotee you think of. No, right?
No,
So why? Because a learning there, externally we can say, okay, because of my fruitive activity, I became like this, I'm born like this. Okay, Krishna, take away everything, take away everything. No, they're actually trying to use that same opportunity given to them. Haridas Thakur, either born as a very rich, wealthy person or very, very poor. Kolavecha Sridhar, very, very poor condition. They're not trying to make any change. Actually, because we're fully convinced in the heart that this is the best position possible for me to become Krishna conscious. That is why I am placed in this position. And this phenomena is called as acceptance. And acceptance is necessary for surrender. Okay, so the one of the key factors in surrender in Krishna consciousness is, have I accepted my position wherever I am by virtue of an external arrangement of fruitive activities as actually the best suited thing for me to be Krishna conscious. I'm not saying that if somebody is in terrible suffering or in ill health, they don't make any attempt to, improvise the position so we can chant Hare Krishna. No, I'm not saying that. Okay, but drastic changes, for example, Prahlad Maharaj could have said that I wish I was born in a devotee family. I wish my father was not so envious of me. I wish I had all the good possible paraphernalia available to serve Krishna. But do we hear that ever, anywhere in Srimad Bhagavatam?
No,
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 no.
Do we hear him complaining? He has all the reason to complain, right? He has all the reason to complain. But do we hear him complaining?
No.
Why me? You know? So understand that this particular verse has to be understood from external aspect as to how I'm transmigrating. Even in this life, I'm transmigrating. Right? Krishna says that Dehino asmin yatha dehe kamaram yavanam jara tatha deha antara praptir hirastatra namoyati. Even in this body, I am already transmigrating. Right? So I don't have to die and then transmigrate. It's already happening. Transmigration. Look at the word, like trans means change, like from one to another. Migration, change and then moving on. So when we are moving on or transmigrating even in this particular body, we can actually make our next body even in this life. Next kind of a body I'm gonna get when I'm like 10 years older than what I am right now, based on my consciousness. Based on my consciousness, it will manifest because matter is subservient to consciousness, to the desire of the soul. Okay, so that is how it works. Prabhupada was explaining in the class today. I was hearing that how the sound, ether gives birth to air. Air gives birth to, what does air give birth to? From air, what happens? Fire. From
Fire,
fire, what
water,
appears?
earth,
Water.
Yeah.
Water, what
water, earth,
appears?
Gandha.
earth.
Yes.
Earth.
Okay.
Yes. So he said this is unknown to the modern science. And then he was explaining the medical part, that if somebody does not feel thirsty, he said if somebody doesn't feel thirsty, that means the fire component is down, because water appears from the fire. So the Ayurvedic school of medicine, it ignites the fire in the body to make the person feel thirsty. So he said, if you know Krishna, you know everything. So like that, if we know Krishna, if we know the subtle science of transmigration, if I know that, okay, there is an external factor where how I am transmigrating, but then there is a Krishna conscious factor, which is the ultimate factor. Okay, and why am I transmigrating? I'm gonna go on transmigrating until I become fully Krishna conscious. That's the only reason. There is no other reason. Okay, there is no other reason, because the desires are not going to be satisfied anyway in any life. Whether I become a Brahma or Indra or whatever, it is not going to be satisfied. If they're not going to be satisfied, then why are you transmigrating? Why am I transmigrating? Because the goal is to become Krishna conscious. It's like, somebody, a student, is keeps on failing an exam year after year after year. So they keep on appearing for exam. They keep on failing a subject for same particular class. Keep on failing, keep on failing. They keep on appearing, keep on appearing. What is the goal? To keep on appearing, keep on appearing. What is the goal?
To pass the exam.
To pass the exam, right?
Yes.
So like that, we keep on taking births, keep on transferring, keep on. Yes, the external factor is a desire. But what is the real deal? When will it stop? Is when I become Krishna conscious. Okay, so the ultimate goal is understand whether in this way or that way, that what is the real deal. It's not that, okay, now I have a father and I have a mother and I'm going to like disown them because they are not my father and mother in reality. No, we don't see that in the life of the pure devotee. We don't see that at all. Who are we following if we are going to do that kind of activity or action? Then who are we following? Our mind only, because we don't see that in the life of the devotees, that despite of knowing that this is not my real family, they disown. They don't disown. but then they take it as a service to Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, we learn it. We learn it from the life of all the pure devotees. Prabhupada dedicates his Krishna conscious life to his father, right? Prabhupada dedicates when he writes in the beginning of Krishna book how much he's praising his father. So, like that, on Krishna himself says the austerity of the body in chapter 17 of Bhagavad Gita. He talks about austerity of the speech, austerity of the mind, and austerity of the body. What does he say about the austerity of the body? 17th chapter. What are the components? Austerity of the body consists of yes,
To serve the Guru and Lord Mataji with them.
and
And perform the duties, Mataji.
to pay obeisances to
Discipline.
one's father and mother. It is this austerity of the speech, austerity of threefold austerity of the body. See, austerity of the body consists in worship of Supreme Lord, Brahman, spiritual master, and superiors like the father and mother, and in cleanliness, simplicity, celibacy, and non-violence. Okay, we have to bridge the gap. I was hearing when I was in Vrindavan, this devotee was giving such nice Bhagavatam class. He said we all have component of impersonalism in our bhakti. He said we just have to recognize where we are becoming impersonalist in our bhakti. You know, where are we? He said according to him, for example, I am only inclined to cook even though for my deities at home when I feel hungry. If I don't feel hungry, I'm not inclined to cook. He said, according to him, that's impersonalism. I'm still trying to think how that is impersonalism, but that's what he said in the class. So it was really nice class that we have a touch of impersonalism. So if we try to disown or nullify or run away from our responsibilities or on the strength of Krishna consciousness giving evidence from the Shastras, then who are we really following? You know, who are we really like setting this as an example for? Nobody likes an irresponsible devotee. Nobody likes an irresponsible devotee. Everybody appreciates a very responsible devotee. Now, one may say that, oh, then what do you say about these brahmacharis who actually fight against their parents and they then join? That's a different case altogether. And then eventually you see that after a few years, they become more responsible towards their family. 100% of the time it happens. They stay in the moment and then they become more responsible towards their family. They go visit even the sannyasis, they go and visit their families. My Guru Maharaj comes to America, he goes visits his sister, and Rompad Maharaj comes to America, he goes and visits his family. Who else have seen? Very nice Kirtan. His name starts with N and I'm forgetting. Anyway, Devamrita Maharaj comes and he visits his mother. I have seen it so many times. Okay, so understand that the reality is that I only belong to Krishna. That is the only reality. Everything else is a duality if I don't, suckle my every other relationship in conjunction to that reality. If I think that all other relationships in my life are independent of the main reality, that my connection with Krishna, then I'm in duality. No meaning, it has no meaning, it is an illusion. But also understand that it is not a mistake to improve one position to become more Krishna conscious. For example, if somebody is in ill health, it's not a mistake to go and take care of one's health to become Krishna conscious. But if we are over endeavoring to just change our position at the cost of our bhakti or our sadhana, then it is a result of the fruitive activity. Okay, it is are a and understand that pure devotees, from whatever examples we see in the Shastras, are really not paying too much attention to their external situation. They are actually thinking that this is the best Krishna can give us so that I can become Krishna conscious in this particular situation. It's the best. I was at Rupa Goswami Prabhupada's Samadhi, Prabhupada's room. I was thinking that this is so hard in old age. It's so hard, you know, to live the way Prabhupada lived there, or to even Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, like living under one tree one night and then going to another tree another night and chanting. But we don't hear that they wanted to change their situation. We don't hear. If you ask me, can I go and live in Vrindavan like that? Absolutely not. I can't, because I'm not at that level. But somebody who is at that level, they are like, this is fine as far as I can chant Hare Krishna. So, can we chant Hare Krishna in whatever situation we have been placed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead? And then Krishna will adjust the situation. You know, he does it for every devotee that is going towards him. He does it. We see it. Why will he not do it for me, or you, or all of us? I think I'll stop here. Any questions, reflections, realizations, corrections?